Hey, everybody. Thanks for being with us. This is our another long form testimonial we call our customer success podcast. And I'm here with Diana Herman, as you could see. And Diana is in the business. And I don't know much about this because I don't really do any research beforehand. We set these up. I talk to the customers just fresh. And so I'll start with what probably less about what you know about nutrition, because it looks like from what I can see, you know quite a bit. I'm just guessing. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have that behind you.
All my herbs.
All your herbs. And is there Chinese herbs back there?
Yeah. Yes. I'm a practitioner of traditional Chinese medicine.
Perfect. Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm a huge believer. And so things that Chinese herbs can't do that can do that Western herbs can't do. It's amazing. People look into that. If you get a chance, don't miss out on that as a healing tool in your toolbox. It isn't everything, but it can do a lot. Diana, will you tell us a little bit about, we sort of divide this show up into before Gussy's gut and after Gussy's gut. So can you tell us a little bit about your dog or dogs before Gussy's gut?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with the fact that I have 10 dogs, and they are all rescues. They are all seniors. Several of them, most of them are medical cases and special needs, like Mr. Hamish here. Hamish here came along because he's really the testimonial. Hamish is paralyzed. He has a little wheelchair that he gets around in. And Hamish, his favorite snack is what, Mr. Hamish? You're on camera here, buddy. Rabbit poop. Rabbit poop and grass. And I got sick of him running out the door in the morning. I put him in his wheels and he runs out the door and he goes and gobbles up grass. And this might be a bit more than you want to know, but because he's paralyzed, he can't poop on his own. And so I have to digitally stimulate him to go to the bathroom. So I know exactly what he eats and how it affects his bowel movements. And I got sick of pulling grass out of his butt.
Yeah. And you prefer that they be firm stools.
Yeah. Well, and I was like, okay, why is he eating so much grass? Like, it's not like a cat that has a fur ball that is trying to get up. Why is he eating so much grass? Why is he eating? Now he's digging in the dirt. He's eating rabbit poop. And I feed my guys really good food. I feed them raw food, pre-made raw meals. And I'm like, something is missing here that they continue to go after. And I started doing a little research, and I had seen, I'm on a lot of different forums and pages for pet nutrition. And on one of the forums, many people had suggested Gussy's gut. And at first I actually thought it was Gassy's gut. And I was like, well, he doesn't have gas, so I don't think that's what I need. But I kept looking, and then I found the youthful grasses and sprouts. And I thought, well, let me just give this a try. And within a week, he was eating like less than half of the amount of grass he had been eating before. His breath is way better. Now, maybe that's because he's also not eating rabbit poop, but I don't think that smells too bad. Anyway, so his digestion is better. He stopped going after the grass like it was life and death for him. And his stools are great. And his stools were pretty good before, minus the grass in them. So I can't, testify that was a significant change. But the fact that he is not, his mission is not to eat grass out of the yard anymore was pretty remarkable. So I put all my dogs on it. So I have all 10 of my dogs on the Gussy's gut, on the youthful grasses. And I'm really impressed with how it's improved everybody's health. They really are not going after the rabbit poop like maniacs anymore. And it's only been like a month or less than a month.
That's amazing. Well, first of all, you got, I don't know if I should say lucky, but you're fortunate. Some dogs take a long time. They take we tell people up to 90 days. If you don't see results, just give it 90 days and then stop if it doesn't work. But, if you need to give it 90 days, give it 90 days, because if you just look at all, and as a health practitioner, you may agree with me, tell me if you do or don't, is pretty much like if you look at all the diets, all the detoxes, everything, they're all 90 days. all the vets
For
tell us,
sure.
yeah, all the human medical and mammal doctors tell us that basically the lining of the gut, if that's the issue, regenerates in days, like about a week. But that's not sometimes enough. The transformation can take 90 days. Like when you change your diet, when, you know, you start a juice protocol or something, it usually takes 90 days for your system to turn over and start seeing these like more visual, obvious benefits. And you know, us humans, we're especially just, you know, pet owners that have busy lives, they only can see usually the thing that gets relieved at the very end. It's like that's the last thing that gets, you know, fixed. The grass eating, the poop eating, all that stuff. So you got to see it earlier, so that's amazing. And you would have been
Yeah.
somebody who would have waited 90 days. I'm confident of that. So that's
Well,
really great.
I would say a couple of things about that. One is that, yes, it can, you know, when we're talking about diet, food and food supplements are either the slowest form of poison or the slowest medicine.
Right.
And so it takes time. It's not like a pharmaceutical pill and you're like, oh, all of a sudden things are different. It doesn't work that way. If only it did. But it doesn't.
I'm gonna do a podcast cast tomorrow with somebody on their podcast. I'm gonna use that line because it's
Oh,
true.
yeah. It's
The
so
slowest
true.
form of poison or the slowest form of medicine.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
absolutely. And I think why we got such quick results is because I had already had everything else in place. I've been feeding them raw food for a year and a half now.
There you go.
And this was just the last piece that was missing. The other thing is, I have with the 10 dogs, I have a small test population. And so when I see a change in one dog, I go, oh, okay, well, that could be a fluke or that could be an anomaly of some sort. But when you see improvement in all 10 dogs within a certain time frame, and the only change that was made was in this particular case adding the youthful grasses, you got to go, oh, okay, well, it's not a formal study, but there's no denying that this made a significant change in all of them. So that there's something there, right? So, but I think even if I hadn't gotten such fast results, I would have stuck with it. 'Cause like I said, it has been less than a month already, and I just ordered more of it yesterday.
Oh, good. Well, thank you for
Yeah.
that. Look, we say this all the time, and I'll say this over and over and over again. What we do is nothing special. We don't manufacture a drug. We don't have any magic up our sleeve. But what we decided to do is create a product that's second to none, from sourcing to production to packaging. So we spend,
Yeah.
you know, probably honestly about 80% of our energy in our company is on that, maybe 90. And I mean, I'm talking about like across the whole company. I'm talking about all the things it takes to run a company, customer service, finance, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
90% of it is focused on that. You get that right and focus on that quality, and like all these crazy, weird, magical things happen. And we can't take credit for any of that. It's just that we know that
Well, I think you can, and I think you
well, thank you,
should.
thank you. But the fundamentals, thank you. The fundamentals of why fermentation is so valuable, that most people understand when they themselves eat kimchi or, you know, drink a kombucha or all the millions of things that are fermented, that are valuable for us. If you just make a really good fermented product and then you formulate it right, Dr. Billinghurst gets a lot of that credit because we looked at creating this harmonization of of what's in these plants, and we did research on what is in what are the nutrients and the profile of those plants,
Hmm.
and then we created the recipe. And if you ferment them right, focus on the cleanest, best organic, you know, produce you can, then you get this magical thing, you know,
So,
this product.
yeah, I want to mention something about that because, you know, theoretically, going back to, you know, food is slow medicine.
Yeah.
If you feed all the right things, your dogs or your cats, intestines should be able to take soluble fiber and ferment it and get the job done. But the problem is most foods that people are feeding their pets, A, don't have those plant ingredients in them. B, it's poor source of fibers and not enough of them. But also, if their digestive tract is weak, and this is coming from me as a professional, Chinese medicine dermatology. Dermatology is my specialty. Whether like we make products for humans as well as for pets, and the microbiome of the gut is incredibly important, not only to keep the microbiome of the digestive tract functioning, because if you're consuming anything and your digestive tract can't process it properly, you're not going to get the nutrition from it. But if you have a weak digestive system, then you can't properly ferment these things, and you end up your animal will get gas instead of useful fermented material to feed the beneficial bacteria that are populating the gut. And so then you have further unhealthy gut issues instead of helping the gut. So when you take a product that's already fermented, you bypass that process, and so you don't get the gas. And in fact, it can resolve digestive issues. And when you have a healthy gut, then food that you feed actually can be medicine. And a healthy gut microbiome, from my perspective as a dermatology expert, you then have a healthier skin microbiome. So you have healthier skin in your pet. So we now, after my experience here, we now recommend it to all our customers who are dealing with skin issues in their dogs, which is a massive prospect, because it's the dietary component that they couldn't get from the food that they were eating, especially if their dog had, weak digestion to begin with. That's and right. I saw in your somewhere in your information about it helping with acrolick dermatitis, that obsessive licking of the paws, and that's from the gut brain axis. Right? If you have healthy gut bacteria, healthy gut microbiome, microflora, then you have a healthier communication between the gut and the brain, and you have less of that OCD, obsessive, compulsive licking of the paws. And that's something that we deal with at CMD Pet Solutions all the time. We have a supplement for that, Chinese herbal medicine supplement for that. But one of the things that I've added to the information that we provide for customers is to add in the youthful grasses from Gussy's gut, because it's that extra component that their dogs are just not getting naturally in their diet. And I think it makes a huge difference. So thank you for that.
That's great. Thank you. That's great. Mm-hmm. Great layering on what we've talked about. I think also the thing that we can't really speak to legally or ethically is that they're doing a lot of studying right now on taking fermented foods in the human world, because they're not spending money on dogs. But you could pretty much draw a line from the human gut to the dog's gut, pretty much, the mammalian gut. And they're studying right now taking medicine and vitamins and getting better absorption when it's taken with fermented foods.
Oh, so, yeah, that's not surprising.
That it increases the absorption of those things. I just want to say one thing about the gassiness. You're absolutely correct. It actually should bypass that gassy stage for a weakened digestive system. But there are dogs that can sometimes get gas temporarily. And so again, that's that 90 days, giving the microbiome a time to adjust. And oh my gosh, the microbes that your dog may have may not be suited for Gussy's gut, because your dog's been, name the thing, maybe right, over medicated, been on kibble its whole life. You adopted the dog. You don't know the dog lived off trash dump.
Any number of things.
Numbers of things. And people can say, oh no, that's not my dog. That's not my dog. But
prolonged antibiotic use for dealing with skin infections or ear infections.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you just have to give things time. You have to give them a beat to work. And
100%. Yeah.
If you can, it'll be great. I got a quiz for you, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but it'll be fun. I think you'll have fun. Finish this sentence. We are what we
eat.
Absorb.
Oh, yes. Excellent. Ooh, that's better.
Yeah, that's for you.
That's
So
right.
I always tell people it really doesn't matter what you're feeding. If your pet's digestive system is not actually breaking that down and utilizing
Yeah.
before Gussy's gut, I didn't know this. I was Vitamixing for 25 years. I was taught to feed raw by Dr. Billinghurst 25 years ago. And I bought a Vitamix for my first dog. His name was Buddy. And I blended these vegetables within a millimeter of their life. And then I fed raw on bones and all these great things. And then what I come to find out over 2 decades later is the absorption is so ridiculous. Even in puppies, it's like 5 to 10% of the value of the things you're feeding. And you're like, wait a second, I'm feeding like $12 meals
Right.
and they're getting, like
This much of it.
yeah, $1.50 worth of the value or whatever.
Yeah.
With fermentation, you increase that
Yeah.
anywhere between 3 to 10 times. It depends on the thing that's fermented, and there's some complication in terms, like, just to keep it simple, it's basically an order of magnitude more, because you're breaking that. It's like you're pre-digesting it, just like you said. Instead of
Right.
causing the gut to ferment on the spot, you've pre-fermented it, pre-digested, so now the body can just go, oh, finally I can
Right. Thanks for
absorb
that
it.
thing that's already been processed for me. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like the mama birds are, puking into the mouths of their babies, and it's like that's because the babies don't have the ability to break all that down, and that's how
Right.
they become wonderfully healthy, vibrant birds. So that's one analogy. And so I'm just so happy to hear about your experience. Thank you for sharing it with us. And
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I really, like I said, I've seen your dogs. They're all rescues, so their life before was most likely not great. In fact, I know for a lot of them was really poor.
yeah,
They got fed poor nutrition, if they found nutrition at all. One of my dogs who recently passed, he survived by eating cigarette butts off the streets of Houston. So his microbiome was completely, there was nothing.
yeah.
And changing to healthier food, adding in fermented foods, these sorts of things makes such a huge difference. And the sooner you can make those changes, the longer and healthier life your dog is going to have, or your cat.
Well,
So
I always, since 16 years old and losing my first dog, have been truly the word, and I don't use this word lightly, but I have been obsessed with longevity in my dogs, keeping them in my life as long as I can. But I have to say, in my wiser, more mature years, I've realized that it's actually the way they feel every day that's way more important than that, because what I want them for doesn't matter as much. It's how they're living today. If they're feeling comfortable, if they're feeling bloated or
right,
gassy, I don't want that. I want them
right,
every day to just be like, yeah,
yeah, vitality,
I'm going to
right?
seize the day. Yeah. And so that's what we're here for, what we want. And, look, if you want to ferment at home, do it. Do it with a bunch of different vegetables. You don't need Gussy's gut. But if you don't want to ferment or can't ferment or whatever the situation is,
Or if you have 10 dogs, it's a lot easier. Let somebody else do that work, and then you just sprinkle it into their food.
right. Although you could probably
Yeah.
ferment in some pretty big buckets or barrels, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I get a company to run and 10 dogs and 2 cats to care for. I don't have time for that.
Yeah, right.
So
Well,
thank you
cool.
for
All right.
doing it.
Thank you very much for that. And don't forget, your cats can have the youthful grasses too. So we made that.
Yes, they're new to me, so we're working it in. I'm just getting them off of, or I just recently got them off of kibble onto gently cooked food. So Gussy's gut is the next step, but I don't want to do everything all at once for them. Little
Amazing.
slower
Well,
transitions. So
thank you for finding
yeah,
us, and thank you for doing this call today.
yeah, it's my pleasure.
Thanks everybody for watching. Have a great day.
Bye.